My husband slid the divorce papers across the dining table like it was a casual business decision. He was smiling. He had no idea I had already moved $500 million beyond his reach 7 days earlier. I first heard him at 12 minutes past midnight. His voice came low from the office down the hallway. Controlled, the exact tone he used on conference calls when he wasn't talking to someone but managing them. Directing them. I had gotten up for water. Bare feet on the hardwood. I was only a few steps from the bedroom door when his voice stopped me. "She still doesn't suspect anything," Nathan said. I froze in the dark hallway. Cold floor under my feet. My body went still before my mind fully caught up. Then another voice on the call, too quiet to understand. Nathan again, almost done. Pause. "She still trusts me with all of it." I didn't move. I didn't breathe properly. I just stood there for 4 seconds that felt longer than anything I could measure. Then I turned around and walked back to the bedroom like nothing had happened. I got into bed. Pulled the covers up. Kept my eyes open in the dark. 11 minutes later he came back. I heard the office door close. His footsteps were careful, soft. The way he moved when he thought I was asleep. He slid into bed beside me. Gently he brushed my hair back from my face. "Couldn't sleep," he whispered. I kept my breathing steady. Slow. Even. A performance of sleep I had never practiced before but now executed perfectly. And in my head I started planning. You need to understand who I am for this to make sense. My name is Serena Voss. I'm 44. I built Voss Media Group from nothing. Starting as a literary agency at 27 with 9 writers, a borrowed desk and a lot of ambition. That agency became a production company. Then a media empire. Now Voss Media owns rights to 63 published works, has produced 19 film and streaming adaptations, and generates between $40 and $60 million a year. I also own a brownstone on West 76th Street outright. In my name. Bought in year 3 of the company. I'm not saying this to impress anyone. I'm saying it because Nathan Cole married into it. And people who marry into $500 million don't get to misuse the word timing. Nathan and I met when he was consulting for a firm interested in partnering with my company. He was 40, sharp, fluent in both finance and creative strategy. He understood writers. He understood deals. Most importantly, he understood how to make himself sound like someone who understood me. For the first time in years, I wasn't the only one carrying both the creative and business weight in a room. That was dangerous. I didn't see it at the time. We dated for 2 years. Thought I was careful. My attorney, Diana Park, reviewed our prenup 4 times. Diana had been my best friend since college and my legal shield for over a decade. She didn't trust easily, especially not charming men. "He's charming," she said once before the wedding. "That's not a compliment," I told her. It wasn't meant to be. The prenup was airtight. Anything I owned before the marriage stayed mine. My companies. My assets. My intellectual property. Everything. Diana still wasn't enthusiastic about him. I married him anyway. Small wedding. My brownstone garden. 30 people. Soft lights and polite applause. For almost 3 years I believed I was right about him. Then I heard him in the hallway at 12 minutes past midnight. The next morning while he was in the shower I opened my banking app. My hands weren't shaking from fear. Fear is messy. What I felt was sharper than that. Focused. Controlled. Useful. The withdrawals were small on purpose. $500 here, $1,000 there, $2,200 somewhere else. Quiet transfers designed to blend into normal account noise. To anyone else it would look like nothing. But I wasn't anyone else. I was finally looking closely. Dozens of them had accumulated across 3 months. Small transactions. Quiet ones. The kind designed not to alarm anyone unless they were already looking for patterns. A slow bruise running through the account history. Nathan walked into the kitchen while I was still staring at the screen. He poured coffee like nothing in the world was heavier than the morning routine. Relaxed in that specific way of his. The way people are when they believe they are fully in control. "Something wrong?" he asked. "A few charges look unfamiliar," I said. He didn't even hesitate. That was what told me everything before he spoke. "Oh," he said lightly. "Those casual placements. Small investment movements through the subsidiary sweep accounts. I forgot to mention them." "Several dozen times?" I asked. His fingers tightened just slightly around the mug. A flicker. Then gone. Barely anything, he said. Almost nothing really. I didn't think it was worth bothering you with the mechanics. Of course, I said. And just like that his shoulders loosened again. Mine didn't. 2 nights later he left his phone on the kitchen table. I heard the shower running upstairs. I stood there for exactly 60 seconds before I touched it. I counted them. Not because I needed the time but because I needed the control. Then I picked it up. 1 unread message. Unknown number. Just digits. Sent her the helium files. Keep her in the dark. Almost done. I didn't move for a moment. Then I scrolled up. Nathan's reply sent 20 minutes earlier. Not until I serve her. Timing matters. I put the phone back exactly how it was. Same angle. Same distance from the table edge. He had a habit of aligning it precisely, corner squared with wood grain face down, always controlled. So I restored control for him. Perfectly. Then I walked to the powder room and turned on the tap. Cold water. I held my wrists under it until my breathing stopped trying to outrun me. Not until I serve her. Serve. Legal language. Intentional language. Timing matters. This wasn't improvisation. It was structure. And I could feel for the first time the shape of it forming. Upstairs I got into bed and lay in the dark, building it piece by piece the way I always built things that mattered. What exists? What is exposed? What moves first? What moves next? Not emotion. Architecture. At 7:14 the next morning I called Diana Park. She picked up on the second ring. No greeting. Just, tell me everything. I told her. The midnight call. The withdrawals. The message. The phrase. The helium files. The timing. When I finished there was a pause. 3 seconds from Diana Park felt like a warning siren. How much exposure? She asked. Close to 500 million, I said. Brownstone. Royalties. Trust. Equity. Adaptation rights. Everything. Another pause. Shorter this time. Then her voice changed. Not softer. Sharper. We are not reacting, she said. We are structuring. I exhaled once. We're going to isolate what is indisputably yours. Fortify it. And make sure your husband is standing outside every structure he thought he could walk through. Can we do it before he moves? I asked. We start in an hour, she said. Come in. Don't go home first. Don't take calls. And Serena. Yes. Nothing changes in your behavior at home. Not yet. Let him believe the board is still flat. Then a pause, colder now. Trust no one in that house until this is done. 72 hours. That's what it took. Diana. Her associate Marcus Webb. And Lena Sorensen, a trust specialist who spoke in documents the way other people spoke in sentences. They rebuilt everything. Premarital assets recertified into a protected trust with time-stamped validation. The brownstone retitled under trust ownership. Signing authority stripped from every account Nathan had ever touched. Dormant investment vehicles locked before he remembered they existed. Royalty pipelines rerouted at the source, away from every subsidiary channel he had been quietly draining. Every move documented. Every move legal. Every door he thought existed, closed. I came home each night and acted normal. I sat across from him at dinner. I answered questions. I smiled at the right moments. He kissed my shoulder one night in the dark and said, "You're my whole world." I watched his reflection in the window above the headboard and kept my breathing steady. By the third evening he came home with Thai food and a bottle of wine like he was celebrating something he hadn't told me about. "Quiet night?" he asked. "Perfect," I said. I poured the wine. I served dinner. I listened to him talk about a podcast like nothing in our lives had ever been anything else. He had no idea the structure beneath him had already been rebuilt. 4 days after Diana and her team finalized everything, Nathan came home dressed too sharply for a Tuesday. Navy suit. Silver tie. Briefcase. Not a workday carry. A performance carry. He placed it beside the dining chair instead of the office. That detail told me everything before he spoke. He didn't eat. He sat across from me. "We need to talk," he said. His voice had that rehearsed weight now. Controlled discomfort. A man trying to look reluctant while already committed. He slid a folder across the table. I opened it. Divorce petition. Filed. Visual. Attorney listed. Oliver Marsh. Of course. Nathan leaned back slightly, watching me like he was expecting collapse. "We've grown apart, Serena," he said gently. "I don't want this to become painful." He said my name like he still owned the right to soften it. I read every page. Then I closed the folder and pushed it back across the table. Before he could speak again, I said, "There's something you should know." A shadow passed over his face. Small, controlled, but real enough to register. For the first time that evening, Nathan Cole didn't look certain. "What?" I said. "I already moved everything." He blinked. Once. Twice. Not confusion exactly. More like a system trying to rerun a calculation and failing to find a valid result. "What does that mean?" he asked. "The brownstone," I said evenly. "The royalty streams. The equity. The investment accounts. The adaptation rights on 14 properties. All of it. Properly documented. Properly filed. Properly defended." I paused. "I moved it a week ago." The color drained from his face, not abruptly but in stages. Like someone slowly lowering a dimmer switch. "You can't do that," he said. I did. For the first time his voice lost its ease. "Serena," he said again, soft, deliberate. The same tone he used in the dark when he brushed my hair back and said he couldn't sleep. The same version of my name that used to land like intimacy. Now it landed like recognition of a tactic. "You were right about one thing," I said quietly. His eyes sharpened. "Timing matters." Something shifted in him immediately. Not guilt. Not remorse. Recognition. The moment a man understands the problem isn't the situation. It's the person across from him. "You went through my phone," he said. "I protected my life," I replied. His jaw tightened. "You just made this ugly." "No," I said. "You made it ugly when you told someone on a call that I still trust you with all of it." He stood so fast the chair scraped violently against the floor. For a moment neither of us spoke. Just the sound of the house settling around us. He straightened his jacket. Put distance between emotion and posture. "We'll see each other in court," he said. I stood too. "Try," I said. And something in him tried. 3 days later it did. Priya came into my office at Voss Media at 10:40 a.m. holding a printed sheet like she didn't want her fingerprints on it. She didn't sit. Just placed it down. An anonymous post on an industry legal forum. Entertainment and publishing litigation circles. The kind of place attorneys used when they wanted to whisper in public. Founder conceals assets through subsidiary accounts. Is Voss Media's governance structure hiding more than royalties? Then a comment. My name, misspelled. Still recognizable enough to do damage. It's Serena Voss. Someone should examine Whitman Media transaction records. It wasn't accurate. Didn't need to be. That wasn't the point. Nathan couldn't reach the money anymore. Not quickly. Not cleanly. Not without exposure. So he reached for the only thing left that still moved fast in my world. Reputation. Trust. I called Diana before Priya even closed the door. "I saw it," she said immediately. "I've got alerts on your name. We're filing a cease and desist within the hour," she continued. "And then we find out who paid for it. Can you trace it? Metadata might be scrubbed," she said. "But redistribution never is. Give me until end of day." By 6 p.m. she had it. The post had been seeded through 3 reposts and 2 burner accounts. The original payment traced back to a consulting LLC tied to a Nathan Cole affiliate structure. The invoice memo read, "Litigation Support Services." Dated 72 hours before the post went live. She sent me a second message. One line below the name of the contractor. Felix Strand. Document consultant. Specializes in fabricated asset schedules and litigation support materials. This is not legitimate work. I read it twice. Then I called her. "How bad?" I asked. "Good," Diana said. "Too good. He builds paper realities. Transaction histories. Asset schedules. Anything a courtroom will accept long enough to cause damage." I went still. Nathan had taken something from my study 2 weeks earlier. A signed copy of my own novel. First edition. My handwriting on the title page. I hadn't thought much of it at the time. Now I understood. "He's building a paper trail," Diana continued. "One designed to mirror yours. False assets. False transfers. A version of your financial life that looks real until someone audits the structure behind it. I stared at the wall. He's going to use my signature, I said. Yes, she replied. Silence stretched. Then she added, and if he's working with Strand, those documents already exist. That was the moment it stopped being theory and became a race. 72 hours earlier, I had been watching my husband smile across a dinner table. Now I was watching him build a case out of my identity. The courtroom was quiet in the way only serious rooms are. Wood paneling, controlled light, and silence that feels enforced rather than natural. Judge Renata Moore presided. Precise. Uninterested in performance. Nathan sat across from me in a suit that had become a costume he was beginning to lose control of. Oliver Marsh beside him, already halfway through confidence. Diana didn't perform. He never did. She simply built the case in front of the court like architecture. Exhibit A. Fabricated asset schedule. Created in Strand's system. Timestamped at 2:14 a.m. Exhibit B. Routing inconsistencies. Financial structures that didn't match any known institutional formatting post-2019. Exhibit C. Forensic analysis. Dr. Vivian Lavoie took the stand. Clinical. Unimpressed by everyone in the room. The signature, she said, shows compression artifacts consistent with a digitized photograph of a handwritten original. In plain terms, my autograph. Higgin. Bolted. Rees. Nathan had tried to turn my name into evidence against me. Then Diana played the hotel footage. Lobby camera. Whitmore Hotel. Nathan shaking hands with a man identified as Felix Strand. Time-stamped. Undeniable. The courtroom changed temperature at that moment. Nathan looked at the screen. Then at me. And for the first time there was no performance left in him. Just exposure. Judge Moore set her pen down carefully. Mr. Cole, she said, your documentation contains inconsistencies that cannot reasonably be attributed to error. They indicate construction. She looked at him directly. This court does not accept constructed financial reality as evidence. Pause. Petition denied. Trust structures upheld. Legal fees awarded to the petitioner. And this matter is referred for investigation into document fraud. Oliver Marsh started to speak. No one followed. Outside, the corridor was marble and cold light. Nathan caught up to me. Diana stepped forward immediately. I stopped her with a small shake of my head. Let it land. He stood there slightly undone, tie loosened, composure imperfectly rebuilt. You were never supposed to be this hard, he said. Not angry. Not pleading. Just revealing something. And in that sentence, everything finally aligned. He hadn't loved me. He had miscalculated me. He had married a version of me he had constructed in his head. Not the real one. The imagined one. The woman who built a $500 million estate and then handed the steering wheel to someone she barely questioned. The woman who slept through midnight phone calls. Who accepted cash sweep adjustments without verifying them. Who didn't look twice when something felt slightly off. That was the woman he believed he was dealing with. And for 3 years he had built an entire strategy around her. The problem was simple. That woman had never existed. I walked away without responding. Not because there was nothing left to say, but because everything relevant had already been entered into evidence. Felix Strand's office turned out to be nothing more than a mail drop above a nail salon in Flushing. Carolyn Diaz confirmed it the same afternoon the ruling came down. By then the rest was already collapsing. Strand's phone had been disconnected. His website vanished sometime between morning and midday on the day of the hearing, like someone erasing fingerprints. But Diana was never reacting to where things were. She was always working on where they would try to hide. Within days she found Owen Park. Former contractor. Former associate. Formerly useful to Felix Strand's operations. He had worked on 3 prior cases involving fabricated financial documentation. When Diana's investigator reached him, he was given a choice that required very little explanation. He chose the affidavit. The alternative, as he understood it, was being associated too closely with Nathan Cole in a courtroom that now had full visibility into Strand's methods. Owen Park signed on Tuesday. His affidavit detailed the system, how signatures were lifted, compressed, and repurposed into documents that could survive a surface-level review. He confirmed his role in preparing materials connected to the Voss case. That was the moment the structure stopped being theoretical and became record. The district attorney opened a formal investigation within 2 weeks. 3 days after that announcement, Oliver Marsh withdrew from representing Nathan Cole. No statement. No argument. Just a filing. Granted. Nathan's appeal came later, funded by what remained of his liquid capital and handled by new counsel he could no longer afford to impress. It lasted 4 months. It ended in 11 minutes. The ruling referenced Judge Moore's original findings, the forensic testimony and Owen Park's affidavit. There was nothing left to reinterpret. The brownstone remains in my name. The royalty streams continue to flow into the correct accounts. The adaptation rights across 14 properties still generate revenue under Voss Media's structure, and by extension mine. Diana Park maintains an updated copy of every document in the estate. Multiple backups, separate systems, redundant storage. Because Diana does not believe in finished protection. Only maintained protection. And I need to be honest about something else. Nothing about this left me untouched. 3 years is a long time to build a life beside someone who is simultaneously building something inside that same life without your knowledge. There is a kind of grief that has nothing to do with financial loss. It has to do with ordinary moments that were never what you thought they were. Dinners. Conversations. The quiet assumption that someone is building with you instead of around you. I do not dismiss that grief. It is real. But I also learned something inside it that I didn't know before. Grief does not require surrender. I grieved and I moved assets. I grieved and I called Diana. I grieved and I sat in a courtroom while an entire paper version of my life was dismantled piece by piece, exhibit by exhibit, while my expression did not change. Grief and action can exist in the same breath. I learned that at 12 minutes past midnight, barefoot on cold wood, listening to a man I once trusted say, "She still trusts me with all of it." He was wrong. The trust had already moved somewhere else. He had simply never been looking in the right place to see it.